Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Monday Caregiver Check-in. My name is Darren Fink,
And I'm Margie Fink.
and I'll let you take it from here, Margie, while I invite some folks.
All right. So we are Transfiguring Adoption. We do this every Monday. We just come on here, and it's a time for caregivers and those who support caregivers or who want to learn more to just kind of come together, ask questions, give advice and suggestions, and just kind of talk about the whole foster care and adoption journey. So it's not necessarily to replace your care or your caseworkers or what your therapists are saying or anything like that. This is just a place to come together and just share the journey so that we all know we're not alone in this. We do have so many volunteers. A lot of times they check in and join us on these Monday Caregiver check-ins just to find out how they can better help resource you guys. We have professionals that'll chime in, so all that good stuff.
Very cool, and I hope everyone's doing well. It's been fun getting, hey, Allison, how you doing? It's been fun because we took December off. It's been fun getting reconnected with everyone. And I've been trying to use Instagram a little bit more because we're trying to get our Instagram numbers up a little bit more. So we're on there. We're on Facebook Live for sure, every Monday. So this is your time to ask questions. So interrupt us at any point if you want to ask questions or if you have ideas for what you want to see us talk about. I know we had Jan Edwards on here. Was it last week or was it? It was 2 weeks ago. And she was talking about prevention for human trafficking. And that hits so close to home with so many of our kiddos, just with things that they're dealing with and all that. So it was very cool to have her on here. We love searching out professionals and people that are going to help you guys and help us be able to become better parents and better people that are going to be able to move kids through trauma a little bit better and be successful people. Whoa, Allison says, from Facebook, Allison is asking the question, what do you do when your son is frustrated in the moment but takes it out on you verbally? Okay, and Allison, if you don't mind, I'm going to pin that to the top here of our conversation here. And I am going to continue inviting some more folks. I want you to think of how you would answer that. And I'm going to also tell people right now, we have folks that are joining in. If you can share this on your social media pages so that more people can join us and help us answer questions, like when Allison or someone else has a question that we can answer that better because there are other people on here watching. But again, Allison, we have people joining us on Instagram. Hey, Instagram. Allison is asking us, what do you do when your son is frustrated in the moment but takes it out on you verbally? Yeah, so let's have a conversation about that, guys. And I know that there's a lag on here, so if everyone wants to jot their answers down on the comments, that would be great. I guess first off, throw some likes or some hearts or something on there if you've ever had this happen where your kid has taken something out on you verbally just because they're, I guess what I'm taking it as is they're in a funk, they're in a mood.
Something bad has happened and they're frustrated. I mean, he's frustrated, so it could be that there's so many different reasons that a child can get frustrated, whether they're having struggles with school or things just aren't going your way. So in that frustration, and that's something that everybody deals with, on our bad days. But for a child who's gone through trauma, and their threshold for frustration is much lower than the typical person, this is going to happen a lot more commonly. Because they'll reach that threshold much more easily. So, those people that are close around tend to kind of take the brunt of that. So,
absolutely. So, can you think of a time that you've had that situation where a child has taken something out on you verbally, and how did you handle it?
I'm horrible at thinking of specific moments. On my best day, and if I'm really thinking therapeutic, this would be a time where you'd say, okay, I know you're dealing with some big emotions. I know we've got books kids books that you could go through on a good day when they're not triggered, when they're not frustrated, and talk about big feelings and emotions, and how to process them. So then they kind of have that as ammo, and they kind of have that as a tool later on. But on my bad days, I would take it personally and be upset.
See, I feel like all the gurus would tell you that you should not take it. You should remember the trauma.
Remember not to take it personally, that you're not the problem.
Right.
So reframing it in your head, going, this is not about me. This is not about me. Those positive self-talk of like, this is not me. I am not the problem. And the child isn't the problem either. It's just that they don't know how to handle these big, heavy emotions. And really in the moment, like there's not, depending on their level of frustration and how escalated they are, you're probably not going to be able to have a real logical conversation because they're back in the primitive part of their brain. They're in survival mode. If they're not too escalated, you can kind of talk about emotions and feelings, and but a lot of it's going to be probably just helping them calm and de-escalate, and assuring them that you love them, and just kind of nurturing until you can get to that point where you can say, okay.
Well, what did we talk about last week too? We were talking about like the importance of like touch and eye contact and stuff like that. And I feel like when your child is frustrated, I feel like if they're in a place where they can be touched, I feel like human touch is a good, important thing. And I feel like touching them on the elbow. I can even think of an instance in the recent past where we had a kiddo that was upset, and I just made sure that I even had my hand on their leg or their knee, where it didn't feel like I wasn't even grabbing it, just like setting my hand on there, just so that they felt like I was there and they knew that I was present. There's just something about that human touch and that connecting.
We had a situation today where we were dealing with a behavior, and I noticed you just taking the child's hand. I mean, we were talking and it was big, heavy, heavy, heavy emotion stuff. The child wasn't necessarily acting out in the moment, but just that reassuring, handhold,
right.
You're okay, we're okay, we're going to get through this together.
And Allison's saying on here that so it happened today. Yes, it's in the moment is hard. Yeah. And see, I feel like that's where I struggle as a caregiver, as a foster adoptive dad, is that we have all these gurus that tell us, remember trauma, remember where your child's coming from, remember this stuff. But in the moment is hard. And I think, yes, we are all striving to be the perfect parents, and we're striving to help our kids the best we can. But I think we do have to remember to give ourselves some slack, that none of us is perfect, and that we all get caught up in the emotions, and that we all fall in the pits. I think the thing is that we have to then remember how to backtrack later and say, okay, how do I not fall in that trap again? Like, how do I not and I know, for us, I know one thing that can help, and maybe not all the time that helps, is if one of us is getting pulled into a trap of like wanting to yell.
Your button's been pushed, your trigger's been pulled.
Hey, Tyler. Yeah, we'll actually pull each other back and say, yeah, your button's been pushed, you're done. And just like actually say, you're done, you're tapped out, I got it. Which is hard too, because then if your button's pushed, like usually what happens with us is we're so in it that we're like, I'm fine, and you're like, no, actually you're not. And then later on, like we admit,
you have to be careful, like not to start a fight this way.
Right.
So did you address that? Okay. So gentle touch, do you ask if you can touch them if they are above 7? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And it depends on your relationship and where you are in the relationship. Obviously, like with any kid who's just come to your house, you're going to ask them, and definitely, your kiddos, which one, who can handle it, who can't.
Yeah.
And how escalated they are. And if it's a child with sensory processing disorder, is your touch going to be calming, or is your touch going to put them through the roof?
Right.
and which kinds of touches, because we have one that has sensory processing, and something light touch is actually probably going to be, that's not going to help. But
Absolutely.
something like pressure, like we had an occupational therapist at one point show us how to do joint compressions, and sometimes in the moment, if he was not too escalated, you can do joint compressions, or just like gentle pressure, but like pressure in certain spots on his head is really helpful to help him de-escalate. And a lot of times, so much is what can we do when we're not in the heat of the moment to help give them tools. So helping them learn some techniques for themselves, like, hey, I notice you're really, really like kind of up here right now. Can you do the magic mustache? And this is something that Dr. Karen Purvis with trust-based relational intervention does a lot. There's, if you put your finger, it's a pressure point, and if you put your finger there and apply pressure and just kind of breathe and count, that has a calming effect. She has several different things that you can do. So if you help them to kind of say, hey, I see you're kind of having a hard time right now. What are some things that we can do together to kind of calm down so we can talk about this?
Right. And it's yeah.
She said one time T actually told me when regulated that a rub on back and down spine can help. Yeah. So when they are regulated and you're connecting, those are great times to ask them, hey, what helps? And kind of, do you have any books that you can think of right offhand that
help with regulation or emotions?
Or emotions, like talking about emotions or dealing with
No, but
emotions.
I have a card. Well, I mean, I do have books. Hold on. Hold that thought. I actually have a card stack that can help with that. So, yeah, let me, as I go off. So we reviewed these on the website, and while Margie's talking, I'll try to find the link and put it on there. But Dr. Karen Treisman has put out a card deck called a Therapeutic Treasure Deck, and she has another one too, and I forget what it's called, and we put these on here before. They're phenomenal. We reviewed them. You can check out our review of them. But the really cool thing about this is they have some things that are sentences, but when your child is regulated, you can take them through these cards, and they have like happy and sad, but it also has upset, angry, and I like things that, let me see if I can find it. Oh, like, okay, jealousy. I feel like the pictures do a good job of explaining what jealousy is, and they just have some other fun, cool emotions.
There are a lot of great emotions that a lot of times you don't, that
they're
kids
kind of
have,
abstract,
but they don't talk about as much.
Allison's here.
Yeah. Both Allisons. But I had a child at one time that, a teenager that came to me. It wasn't these exact cards, but some different feelings cards that came and were able to like say, hey, I'm feeling this and this.
Oh, like one like
safe.
Like that's a hard emotion to explain. And then the picture kind of helps, like, there's this one, disgusted. But it really gives you, like, I've stepped on what you were going to say, but I think these do a really good job of helping you, like, just they can point out how they feel when they're calm and regulated, and then when maybe they're not regulated, they can use these because they've used them before. But there are other fun ones in here too with sentences like, I keep myself safe by, and that just gives you a cool jumping off point to like explain, like they can talk about this then, like maybe at the dinner table you do something like says, the things that make the blank feeling visit are, so like what makes the happy feeling visit, what makes the angry feeling visit, stuff like that. And you can have conversations like that, and it just gives you an insight to your child. And they're fun, colorful, everything like that.
So Shelby says, just jumping on, where can I get those? Okay, so can you search for the link?
Yeah, I'm going to search for the link while Margie's talking with these, but they're Dr. Karen Treisman. If you guys don't mind, buy them. I'll put the link on there. If you buy them through our website, we get a little
on the review at the bottom of all our reviews. There's always a link that says buy from our links or something like that, and it's an Amazon thing. So if you buy it off Amazon from our link, we'll get a little.
We get a little kickback to help Transfiguring Adoption. We'd appreciate it. Thank you guys. You guys are all great.
we really haven't had a lot of that happening. So it'd be great. It helps us keep the website online and such. So
yeah. And that's going to make it hard for you to see what's going on here, isn't it?
I can't see what's going on if you're doing that.
Yeah, these cards are really cool. And Dr. Karen Treisman has actually put out some other ones. Well, just even tell them how it helped our foster kiddos, and we had foster kiddos in the house.
Yeah, that was a different deck, though. I can't remember.
No, it was the same. Well,
no,
it was
different.
It was different, but it was similar, though. It was very similar.
We had a teenager. I said it a second ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
okay.
We had a teenager who came to me and just had a huge stack of cards that she had gone through, and she's like, I'm feeling all these things. And I said, okay, and I was doing something with another child. I was putting another child to bed, and I said, okay, hold on just a minute. Let's go down. Where do you want to go talk? She said, let's go to the dining room. So we sat down at the dining room table, and card by card we went through, and okay, why are you feeling this way? What's making you feel that way? And mostly I wasn't trying to even make anything better, but just a lot of validation, like that feeling makes a lot of sense. I can understand why you feel that way. And we just went through feeling by feeling. And so much of it was just our kids need to feel validated. And a lot of times in the heat of the moment too, like we were talking about, your best therapeutic parenting and everything you've learned a lot of times can go totally out the window, and you walk away going, I didn't do anything the way I was supposed to do it. But a lot of times in the heat of moment, we get mad at their feelings, or we're upset, but a lot of times they really need to feel validated. So you can address first, like, okay, I see you're feeling this. I can understand why you would feel that way. How's a better way we can work together to deal with that feeling better?
I'm gonna reiterate the question here. So as we're looking at here, people are joining in. We have people on Instagram joining in with us tonight. So the question was asked, what do you do when your child is frustrated in the moment, but they take it out on you verbally? And again, I think if I'm understanding everything right, I know the danger for me is to take the verbally personal and to get in to make it about like our relationship when really it's the child has something else going on.
Yeah, so we're talking about the fact that frustration, the typical person who hasn't gone through tons of trauma, their threshold for frustration is here, and our children, their threshold for frustration is so much lower. So, that breaking point is much lower for them. It's much easier for them to, get frustrated with homework, or get frustrated with just, I'm trying to put my shirt on and it's just not, my hand can't get in there right, or just the littlest thing. Yeah, validation. One of our therapists was always talking to us about validate their feelings, and it really does go really well when we can say, yeah, like, you have every right to feel that way. Like, you're going through some pretty serious junk.
Well, let me throw that out there. Does everyone feel like they have those moments where they get into it with their kid when they know they shouldn't? Like, can you guys, let me, it'll be easier. Just hit the laugh emoji. Like, just hit the tar out of it. If you guys feel like you get into that trap sometimes, I know I do. And
it's not funny.
It's not funny. I'm laughing at myself.
So all in the same boat.
We are so all in the same boat. It's not even, it's probably not even funny.
So Allison Douglas says, I try to always validate. I know you're really frustrated. Can you try that again with kind words? Yes. Or like Dr. Karen Purvis would always say, can we try that again with respect?
And it's so hard though. And again, I feel like the hardest thing for us to do as parents is to give ourselves some slack, because we're not perfect too. I think the key is to revisit the situation later once everyone's calmed down, and make up with each other, talk with your child after everyone's calmed down, and then just as a parent, just revisiting your feelings and emotions, and just trying to figure out where did I go wrong, or what help did I need.
And fessing up and saying, hey, I didn't really handle that right.
Right. Because there are probably at least 15,000 ways that I didn't handle things right today. Just even with so many things. Like I was trying to get the room set up here for videoing, and a big metal frame fell over on my leg, and there was some pain involved in my foot, and I did not handle talking to people well. So, yay, I'm not perfect.
Yes, Allison says that's when I'm my best self. Yes.
Yes.
What is your recommendation reaction when your child instantly sees red?
So I'm taking it. So I'm going to unpin Allison Strongman's question, and I am going to pin that one to the top. So Shelby's asking, for everyone that's joining in with us, what is your reaction when your child instantly sees red? So I'm guessing they instantly go into a rage, and they're not even seeing straight. So I'm curious, like, yeah, what does everyone think about that?
First off of that, as we know, there's not going to be any logical or reasoning or talking or trying to be rational in that moment, because, like I said earlier, they're in the primitive, the back part of their brain. All the thinking stuff that happens up here, they can't access that in the moment. So the only thing you're going to be working on at that point is trying to figure out, how do I de-escalate this child? Because you can't have any kind of conversation.
Well, and where does that fall in with too, like making sure everyone's safe? Because I like when I think about people,
making sure everybody's safe.
When I think about
is
people,
there another child I need to like get out of the room, or do I need to make sure this child isn't going to hurt himself? What's around?
Well, because I know, hey Jen, glad you're here. I know that times when I think of like a kid seeing red, I can think of times where I've actually had to. I know that certain states don't allow you to do it, but we were in Illinois and they did. Like I would actually
that was post-adoption too, like
right, and I would actually hug the child, and I would just keep hugging them until they were like, and it worked though, because I feel like it had to be good, because they were able to like push against me and like really use their muscles to like push and pull and.
Well, Allison Strong Mom has a good point. She says, I try to be really quiet. Yeah, you don't want your reaction to escalate them further. So quiet is good.
I remember I used to say, because I know that like what the instance I was thinking of, like with our kiddo, like with hugging them, was they wanted me to let them go, and I would just say, I will let you go when you're no longer a danger to yourself or anyone else. And I would just like assure them that they were safe and they were loved, and I will let you go when you're no longer. And it totally was what you're thinking. I think like they just had to go through it. Like there was no rationale. There was not, like, eventually they just were kind of like it was almost like seeing a different person. Like all of a sudden they just went through the rage, and then it was just kind of like you were looking at a different person, and they're like, hey, what, like almost like they lost time, but they didn't lose time, but it was just like, hey, what's going on? And you're like, hey, welcome back. So very cool. Yeah, I don't know. Shelby, does that answer any of your question there?
What of other people? What's some other ideas? What is your reaction when your child instantly sees red? And I had something new.
I know we have Jen Ellers that just joined us. She helps us out with our volunteer mobilization, and she also works as a mentor for kids from trauma backgrounds, foster and adoptive kiddos. So Jen, if you have, what we're talking about right now is what are your recommendation reactions when a child instantly sees red?
Oh, I know, like one of our kids therapists was like, you have to think about what age they're functioning in, and at that moment, and she's like, what do you do with babies? It's like, you're okay, and I would say, like, you may or may not be touching them. Again, we kind of talked about that a minute ago, knowing what kind of touch your child can tolerate, whether it escalates them or de-escalates them. There
were comments and they weren't popping up. All of a sudden it was like, bloop.
But just that you're okay. So Allison says, I try to regulate by giving them space, get everyone not involved out of the room, and limit sensory stimulation. Yeah. So not just like being quiet, but just in the surrounding environment. Let's see.
Yeah, so Allison's saying too that she really thinks kids do lose time. Yeah. They're really often not aware of what happened.
Yeah. And a lot of times very remorseful too. Not always, but sometimes, it's like they realize, like they kind of snap out of it and they go, whoa, what just happened.
Yeah, it's funny because I did have one of our kids like that. I did ask them about like I'm like it'd be fun to have a magic undo button like on a computer, right? And they're like, yeah, it really would. Like totally like, but that's when after the fact when they're able to think about things and see what happens and different things like that. So it is.
Yeah.
It's a different kid.
Shelby says one of our issues is that specific child is autistic, so it's hard for her to express her emotions. Yeah, so like the feelings cards. I have to think if there's any other books that are particularly helpful for when they're not in the moment.
Oh, I got some. Hold on. Go talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'm actually reading a book right now, Shelby, and I'm not finished with it. I'm a good part of the way done with it. I'll be doing a review soon, but it's actually about autism. It's kind of an introduction, but it's specifically about autism in children who are fostered or adopted. And Allison says, my guy was always remorseful after. It was so hard. Yeah. Some kids don't really they have a hard time putting themselves in others' shoes. And that's actually a big portion of the book I'm reading right now on autism, talks about the fact that for kids who are autistic, it's hard for them to understand anybody else's emotions. They have a hard time, putting themselves in someone else's shoes. So that makes it hard for them sometimes to be remorseful or to fully understand how their actions are making someone else feel. All right, I'm waiting kind of if there's any lag. Sometimes we say something and then comments pop up later. So Darren's feverishly looking through some of our stacks of books. And he's got a whole stack.
Well, I can't find the ones that I can't.
If the ones that we reviewed, they're going to be down there on that one shelf.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. So we have all different kinds of books that we've reviewed, and on our book list. This is one, Little Meerkat's Big Panic, a story about learning new ways to feel calm by Jane Evans. That's one that's helped some of our kiddos. Allison says, when I remained calm yet mirrored the intensity of my guy's feelings, he seemed to calm more quickly. So tell us a little bit more, like how did you mirror his intensity? Miranda says, mine isn't remorseful. She screams blood-curdling screams and refuses any of her coping mechanisms when she is angry. I never know what to do. She was recently diagnosed ASD, but she is super high functioning. Allison Strongmom says, interesting point that whether autistic or not, they don't get our emotions and our shoes. Yeah. We went through some periods. One of our kiddos at one point did the blood curdling screams for hours, and there was no. The child at the point didn't really have a whole lot of coping mechanisms, but if there were coping mechanisms, they weren't used at the time. And that child's not diagnosed with ASD, but really, like it was hard. There really wasn't much that we could do. It was just make sure everybody was safe and just kind of ride through it.
And I know Margie just talked about this. Let me point this out, though, to you. My son Dalton and I are the ones that look at the kids' books. That's why how I'm like looking around and I'm like, oh, I know. This one, Little Meerkat's Big Panic by Jane Evans. It's illustrated by Izzy Bean. The reason I pulled this one out is Jane Evans is really good at explaining how the front part of our brain and the back part of our brain are working, and she gets it explained into terms that kids can understand, and you can have a dialogue on them about it with them. Not only that, but she takes it through, and we don't have to be rocket scientists because she explains how the cerebral cortex and all that works in her books for adults, and explains how trauma and different things are going to, and anxiety are going to affect the brain. And she does a really good job. I wish I could find Kit Kitten and the Topsy-Turvy Feelings, because it does a phenomenal job of taking you through a fun story for like an elementary school age kiddo. It has great pictures. I'll actually find a link and I'll post it on there, but she every once in a while has like little breakout sessions where like, how do you think this made little meerkat feel? And it has words in there. But she does a good job also of having times where it's like, she talks about how the animal's body parts are feeling during different things. Like I know, like, you know, maybe their stomach feels all wobbly, or they feel like they're going to throw up, or they feel like their cheeks feel warm, or so it does a really good job of taking you through the emotions, and so your child can try to understand like how they feel during certain emotions. But Jane Evans, I'll find a link and I'll put it in here for Kit Kitten and the Topsy-Turvy Feelings. But she also did Little Meerkat's Big Panic. And it's Jane Evans. So,
Did you talk about William Wobbly?
I didn't talk about William Wobbly. Did you have someone else that needed another comment or someone?
With Allison, I kind of was asking her about how she mirrors him. She said, with my tone of voice mostly, when I was too calm, he felt like I was making fun of him or didn't understand, which would not be very validating. By the time the kid is escalated, it's really too late to use coping skills, but when kids aren't remorseful, it's really hard to face it again day after day. Yes.
And I feel like this is like, I feel like we should all be paid to go through classes for this, because I feel like there's just a lot of stuff here.
Did you want to?
Go ahead. I'm going to put this link up here. No, go ahead.
Okay. And this was another one that we've reviewed. William Wobbly and the Very Bad Day by Sarah Naish and Rosie Jeffries. This is another good book when a child is not escalated, to just kind of talk about feelings.
And that one also does a really good job of talking about feelings and emotions. Sarah Naish is also a foster adoptive parent. Rosie Jeffries is one of her daughters. And they put these books together, and they do a really good job of their real life. There's all the stories that they make, all of you guys can relate with, because there's stuff about foster and adoptive families and what they're going through. And I know William Wobbly has a hard time because he kind of usually has issues like with his stomach and different things, and anxiety, and like he's kind of our kids that all of a sudden it just kind of blows up all of a sudden, kind of what we're talking about.
Allison says, I love these books. One of my kids still uses the word wobbly to describe her feelings.
Nice. No, I really like Sarah Naish's books. I love, you can relate with them. Like there's so much that you can relate to in all of her books, and she has a lot of them. The Kit Kitten, I put that link up there. Kit Kitten and the Topsy-Turvy Feelings, I would definitely suggest for if you're trying to help your elementary school age child. And let's be honest, if they're acting half their chronological age, probably a middle school or two, you could take them through Kit Kitten and the Topsy-Turvy Feelings. Kit Kitten is not a foster adoptive character, but he lives with his birth dad, and his birth dad, I believe, kind of, like they don't come out and say it, but you can kind of tell through the illustrations that he has an alcohol addiction. And so he's not always there and taking care of Kit.
She said, Allison says, it's easier than dysregulated for an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Wobbly is a lot easier to kind of comprehend and to say for an 8-year-old.
Oh my goodness, though. Like I feel like with all, the only thing I don't like about like learning all this stuff is I feel like our kids start to learn the language, and I'm like, geez, they don't need to know all this language. But they do I guess they do need to know the language to like be able to advocate for themselves, but at the same time, then I hate when they start using it against us.
Okay, so Miranda says you all are in the Orlando area too, right? I would love to know what therapists and mental health professionals you use. I'm having the hardest time finding the right someone. So we're still so very new. We just got here in May. But we do have a therapist. Hey, Dusty. A therapist that we've recently started with. We have one child, who has always been very, very avoidant and resistant to therapy, and another who's still kind of struggling to work through therapy. to kind of have positive things come out of it. But both the kiddos that we've had seeing, her name is Tracy, I think it's Felix Thomas, and it's ME Solutions Counseling. I think it's on Aloma. It's in Winter Park. It's a little bit of a drive for us, but our kids love her, and they're really responding well to her, and she's really good with them. We've had problems in the past with therapists who our kids could kind of just, I don't know, skirt issues or not necessarily manipulate, but they could talk their way through stuff without really addressing problems. And she's just been really, really great with our kids.
The other really cool thing is Orange Seminole
Foster Care Association. We haven't really done a whole lot with them because we're not currently licensed and stuff, but they're a great resource. Orlando Adoption Network, we've gone to a couple of their meetings, and they actually, someone in that group was who referred me to Tracy. I had actually asked on the Orlando Adoption Network on their group page for recommendations, and I went through the list of recommendations that people had made, and Tracy was the only one that accepted our kids' insurance, so that's where we went. But she's been great. As far as for psychiatrists, we have Dr. Barreto Concepcion with Compass Counseling.
You know, if you need,
really
the other thing that you can do, Miranda, is check out Margie's Facebook page. Margie, here, I will put that on here too. If you want to connect with her, she does answer direct messages, and she can get you a little bit more deeper information on that. But I think some other people had some stuff. Okay, hey, thanks for all the likes and laughs and everything, you guys. Thank you so much.
Dusty says, someday I'll get time to hang out again, and one more month juggling 3 jobs and mom stuff. I don't envy that 3-job thing at all. So she says, having kids drink water when they see red is a good tool because it instantly brings them to here and now. Anything sensory driven. Yeah, a lot of times we've had kids that, you know, in the moment, some water or a snack, like their blood sugar has plummeted and they don't realize it. So making sure that kids have some protein every 2 hours and plenty of hydration can actually change behavior a lot. The things that our kids have been through, their body, just the way they process glucose and things is a little, you know, their blood sugar can plummet, and then it creates all kinds of things going on in their brain where that wouldn't impact people who haven't been through a lot of trauma as much. So Miranda says, my daughter I mentioned above was in residential for 6 months last year. The place she was at did not let the kids say they felt okay, but they were allowed to say they felt neutral. I think I would rather her say wobbly. Wobbly, wobbly. And acknowledging, Dusty says, that acknowledging the intensity and working around it and their level helps. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so, like, I feel like
it's absolutely protein.
Bacon is protein. Dusty said bacon, so bacon is not considered protein, but I can solve anything. Bacon is so protein. What are we talking about here? I'm not even a big bacon fan. I know that I'm going to get hate mail now because I've said that.
I've been doing keto, so I've had to develop a new love for bacon.
A new love for bacon. Her and bacon are having kissy faces. That's funny.
Thank God.
So yeah, let us know, you guys. So is that helping? Are we? I think we're hitting some issues here and some answers for problems here. If nothing else, know that you guys aren't alone because we're handling this all the time. So yeah, we're in this with you guys. What are one thing that I wanted to know today is what are things that, like, what are, someone told me we have tapes that play in our head, and those tapes are things that we go back and we remind ourselves of, like negative thoughts of like, you didn't do this well enough, or you didn't say this well enough, or you're like, if you went to a job interview and you're playing the tape in your head of like everything you did wrong, what are the things that you guys say to yourself, or that other foster adoptive parents say to themselves that make them feel like they're not doing a good job? What are those things that we play in our heads? Duran. That'd be funny if that was the bad thing that you said in your head. I don't know why Duran would be the bad thing you said in your head, but Dusty commented Duran. What are those tapes, though, that you guys play in your heads that, like, I know, like, what are some things that you tell yourself?
You know, I'm so bad at thinking of stuff on the spot.
Well,
I don't know what it is.
I was hoping that you were, like, listening to me and, like, you're like, you're in it. You were going. Dusty says, I'm constantly stating I'm failing because I never quite know what to say to her at times. Yes, I think that's fair enough. I think a lot of us do that. I think we always think that we're failing, even though we're doing better than I think we are at a lot of times. What do you think? Okay. So what are we, like, I think that a lot of times too, like, I feel like I'm not being therapeutic, and I should be, like, I know my kids need me to be therapeutic, and I don't feel like I'm being therapeutic.
Like, I'm not doing a good job of balancing kind of that, like, they need structure, but they also need me to be nurturing. And you have to balance that. And so, like, if you look at Dr. Karen Purvis in trust-based relational intervention, I'll say her name a million times. She's amazing. But, if you up the structure, you have to kind of up the nurture to match it. And I'm really bad about that.
Miranda says, anyone else could have been a better mom for my kids? Yes. And you're sitting there thinking, I think I take it as, like, even saying, like, okay, they should have just stayed with their birth family. Like, here they were taken for whatever reason. I don't know why they're here. I'm doing a worse job. I'm hurting more. Christina says, why am I not enough? Why can't I help? Why do I lose my temper again? Yes, the struggle is real.
And Dusty, the struggle to be a compassionate but realistic parent is so real.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I do appreciate when we talk to, like, the gurus, like when Karen Purvis was alive, and she would like be doing a talk and she would be showing a video, and she would stop, like, randomly in her talk, she would stop a video and she'd be like, hold on. She's like, did you see what I just did there? She's like, I never noticed that before. She's like, I did that wrong. And we'd be all like, what did she do? Like, and she would, like, go through and she's like, did you see what I did? I just told you guys not to do that and I just did it. And she's like, just wanted to show you that I don't have it together. Like, and it was nice because you, like, see all these gurus that are talking all the time and you're just like, wow, they have it so together. And it was nice to hear that someone messed up and they were just with you.
Well, and one thing that I remember Dr. Purvis saying at one point that, or if we were at a convention, like hearing her talking or something, and she was talking about how, like, when you're going alongside your kid and you kind of, you're bonding and like, just how if you do everything right, that you got the attachment and stuff, but basically, like, when you mess up, but you go back and repair your mess up and say, hey, I screwed up, I didn't handle this right, I should have done it this way, and you go back to your child and repair it, that actually it creates even a stronger bond than had that never happened.
Right.
So not an excuse to, like, go and screw up all the time, but, like, just some consolation. It's past my bedtime. I can't think of words. The words are gone. So Dusty said she has teens, so I'm not cuddly, and I wonder if that is okay. And then Marina says, I have small kids, and I'm not cuddly. I know it would help them if I was, but it's hard for me. I'm not always very cuddly.
I was gonna say I'm more the
like,
cuddle person.
If I'm, yeah, and I will deny, like, not deny hugs, but like sometimes, like one child in particular, like is like, oh yeah, I see you're having a hard time. You want a hug? And I'm just like, no, I don't want a hug. Like if I'm in a bad mood, I don't want a hug. So trying to push past that sometimes, because sometimes when they're in a bad mood and I'm in a bad mood, and for the same reason or different reasons or whatever, and that child needs a hug, like I need to probably be more huggy sometimes.
Just to let you guys know, we are getting to 15 minutes till the end here. So this is usually around the part that we start winding down. So if anyone has any last minute comments, if you have some suggestions or advice, or if you have ideas that you want to throw out for us to talk about next week or in the coming weeks, now's the time to do so. Now is also the time to just start hitting like the positive emoji buttons for no reason whatsoever, just so that we can see everything go crazy. I don't know. I just thought it sounded fun. But yeah, so things that we have going on right now with Transfiguring Adoption. I'm going to talk a little bit. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit and share just to buffer while you guys are thinking of maybe ideas that you want us to talk about in the future, or you have last minute questions or whatnot. So in February, which is coming up in a couple days, we have our 3rd annual Sweet Dreams Nightlight Drive. It's our volunteers' way of waging war on nighttime terrors in foster kiddos. So we are going to be asking people to either mail in night lights to our main office here in Orlando, or we have several groups that meet around the country on a monthly basis, and they're going to be collecting night lights. So you can check in with us to see if there's a local group near you, or you can also mail in night lights or just tell people about it. We're going to be giving these out to foster care agencies to help kids, again, feel safe in a stranger's home. The other thing that we have going on, I'm trying to think. We have our new third-party store that is just open. I'm actually wearing a really cool shirt right now that is from our third-party store. You can't see it all the way because I'm so close. But we have shirts and dresses and shoes and backpacks and all sorts of stuff, leggings that are on there. And it's just one more way to support what we're doing and help keep us funded so we can keep helping families like you guys, right?
Yeah. And a lot of that's for our volunteers. Some of our volunteers are on here. You know, and for people that want to help you guys, that's a great way.
But some people want to wear, like, they want an owl on their shirt. I mean, this is a fun shirt. I'm an adopted parent. I don't want one. They really are cool. Yeah, so, I'll put the link. I'll put the link on there. We're in process of moving everything over to our website, but I will give you the third-party website. The dresses are pretty amazing, aren't they? The skirts and the dresses. The only thing I will say though,
they run small.
Yeah, it's from a Chinese company, so they tend to, if they're going to err, they run a bit on the small side.
They do have measurements. So
they do have measurements. The other thing that's not so great is think old-fashioned Sears catalog. Like
it takes a while to get stuff.
Everything's custom made, so it takes 4 to 6 weeks to get your stuff. So yeah, let me know. Actually, we are looking for people to help us out with, we're trying to get pictures of our merchandise, so more people that are curious about it and stuff like that. If you're interested in purchasing items on our store, the third-party store, and would be willing to take some pictures of you or someone wearing the items so that we can put it for our marketing, give me a message on the Transfiguring Adoption Facebook page, or just get it to me somehow. And I will get you some coupons that will make a $30 shirt more like $12. And I can also help you get our shoes that are like $60. I can help you make those be $25 with free shipping. if in exchange you will take pictures of you wearing them, so we can put it for marketing. Curvy sizes. They have curvy sizes. Truth?
Truth.
Truth. Actually, most of the models that I see for that like are doing things on social media for this third-party company are more of the 3XL variety.
Miranda says, I need a new Slither and Owl sticker. You gave me one when we met at DragonCon a month after our adoption. It's on my old phone case and I miss it.
Go to our Etsy store or go to our online store and we have them available there.
It's not that online store. You have to go on a website to get the stickers.
Right, go to our Etsy. Our Etsy store has them. If our Etsy store has stickers. Our Etsy store has them, and you can also go to transfiguringadoption.com and you'll see a link where it says store. There's a link for stickers. There's its own separate link, so you can get them. What?
Christina has me about cats.
Oh dear. It's a cat thing. It's a cat thing.
We still have that boy here, the adult child, the man child that's still allergic.
Oh dear. All right. Well,
they are cuddly though. When we talk about therapy, they're therapeutic. Very much so. Sorry.
Good?
You're good.
I'm good. All right. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching with us tonight. We are we just have so much fun with everyone that comes and watches with us. Please spread the word. If you haven't already shared this video to your page, please share it because it just helps us to have more conversations with more people. And like tonight, we had people that were professionals, people that were coming at foster care and adoption from different angles, and we can help more people the more people that watch. This is going to be every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're always going to be on Facebook Live. Every once in a while, we'll be on Instagram Live and YouTube Live, just depending on the situation and what devices have stayed charged throughout the day. Appreciate you guys. We know that you guys are doing more good than you can possibly know. Don't let those negative thoughts get you down in your head. Stop those tape recordings or whatever you have playing in your head telling you that you're failing, because you're not. You're doing more good than you possibly can know. We know from experience. Thank you so much for watching. Love you guys. Appreciate you all. This is Darren Fink and
Margie Fink.
Hope we're helping you to nurture and grow your foster or adoptive family. Bye, you guys. Thanks for watching. See you next week.